How's it going, guys? TFF back here again with another prediction podcast. Today I'm going to be going over the fight of the weekend, Tyson Fury looking to defend his title against Deontay Wilder. Just a little bit of a heads up, Tyson Fury is my favorite fighter, my favorite boxer, that is. So this might be a little bit biased, however, I do think that I can provide an objective opinion in some ways. So, Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, they fought two times. The first time was a fantastic draw, and the second time, Tyson Fury kind of ran through Deontay Wilder. What am I really expecting? Well, to go back to look at the other fights, in fight one, Tyson Fury was kind of fighting from the outside, and he was letting Deontay Wilder have his jab, and that's when Deontay Wilder is at his most effective, when he can throw that jab and then follow that up with his outrageous right hand. Um, you saw that in most of the fight, Tyson Fury was playing it kind of safe. He was still winning rounds, and Deontay was landing some shots, but not harder shots until that final 12th round knockdown, which Tyson Fury miraculously got up from. The key part of that fight, I think, is what happened after that knockdown. Tyson Fury does get knocked down in the 12th round. However, his game plan then changes, and in my opinion, he goes on and wins that round. What he did is he began to press Deontay Wilder, and I think that's important because he can't throw, or Deontay Wilder that is, can't throw his right hand with that much urgency, that much power when he's off his back foot. So pressing into Deontay Wilder seemed like the tactic to go to, and that's exactly what Tyson Fury did in the second fight. He was really pushing the pace against Wilder. He was in his face the whole fight, and he wasn't allowing Deontay Wilder to throw many jabs. I believe that's when Deontay Wilder is at his best, throwing his jabs, finding the range for that right hand. Because when that right hand does come, it's ferocious, and that's set up via the jabs. And if you can take that away, then Deontay Wilder doesn't have much else to really lean back on. He's not the most skilled boxer by any means. So he's really limited in that sense. If you can get him backing up, he can't use his fantastic right hand because it's not set up through the jab. So that's what Tyson Fury did in that second fight. He really pushed the pace, pushed into Deontay Wilder, and we saw a one-way basically massacre where Tyson Fury pretty much demolished Deontay Wilder. And Deontay Wilder's corner thankfully threw in the towel. I think that was the right call to throw in the towel. I know he's vehemently disagreeing with that decision. He's firing his coach who did that. It was controversial in the sense that Deontay didn't want it. However, for most people who were watching, it seemed like the right call. He was getting smashed. His ear was bleeding pretty heavily. Sorry, and I think that was the right call at the moment, and I stand by it, even though the coach did get fired for making that decision. Um, the question is, what do we expect to see in this fight? And I think that Deontay Wilder's interviews kind of lean towards the fact that he's going to be a little bit more wild. And I think that's important for him because if it's a technical boxing fight, I don't think that he even comes close to the amount of skills that Tyson Fury has. So to create that chaos, I think that's where he's going to operate with the most effectiveness and the most efficiency. So he's trying to create that chaos. From Tyson Fury's perspective, I think that he's going to do the same thing that he did in the second fight, really press into Deontay Wilder, ensure that that jab of Deontay Wilder is kind of limited so that the right hand is not as easily accessible, it's not as accurate, he can't judge the distance as well, and to an extent it's not as powerful coming off his back foot. The thing about this is that those things kind of stylistically don't make sense. Tyson Fury pushing into Deontay Wilder, you can't really cause chaos when he's off his back foot. So what does that mean? I think that means that Deontay is also going to try to take a step forward, and we'll see a nice little slugfest in the middle of the ring. That's what I am expecting. In terms of a prediction, I do think Tyson Fury is going to win again, and I do think it's going to come via stoppage. This time, not via the corner. I think that he's going to get a standing count, and I think that might be it. The reason I think this is that Tyson Fury showed he had power in that second Deontay Wilder fight. That was an area that was plaguing him most of his career, if not his whole career, that Tyson Fury does not have power. But he showed up in that big fight, finished off the Deontay Wilder in the second fight, and I think that something similar will happen. He showed that he has the power. I still think that he's an elite boxer, and I think he's probably the best boxer maybe in the game right now. And I do think Deontay Wilder's deficiencies will still show, even though he has been getting better because they haven't fought in so long. I think that Deontay Wilder's deficiencies are just too much to ask him to overcome in this fight, and a person like Tyson Fury, who's maybe one of the best boxers in the world, along with Canelo, Terence Crawford, people like that of that ilk, I think that that's too much to overcome for Deontay, and I think he is going to end up falling again, and then Tyson Fury is winning that trilogy bout. Thank you guys so much. TFF out, like and subscribe.